Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In case you missed my most recent post to my community tab, I had written about my son Bennett. He's 2 years old. He has a condition called hemihyperplasia, and what that basically means is that he has a bit of a growth condition. So in his case, it is isolated to his left leg. So his left leg is growing faster than any other part of his body. And we first noticed that when he was about 2, maybe 3 months old. He had what we called a chunky leg. So his left leg was just chunkier than the right leg, and we didn't really know what that was all about. We brought it up to our family doctor. They ordered an ultrasound and an x-ray. Those came back without any indication of any issues. But because I kept bringing it up every time he had his needle appointments or just well baby checks, they eventually referred us to the orthopedic center at the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. We met with that team fall of 2018, and we were told that yes, in fact, there is an issue, and that's where this word hemihyperplasia was first brought up. At that time, because they hadn't done any sort of genetic testing, they couldn't tell for certain whether or not his left leg was growing faster or if his right leg was growing slower. They couldn't really get a sense of what was going on. So fast forward to April of this year when we met with the genetic team at the Hospital for Sick Kids. And they did confirm that it is hemihyperplasia. His left leg is growing faster. And as they explained it to us, and I'm paraphrasing here and trying to keep it simple because that's the only way I can remember it. But basically, if your growth gene is made up of, say, 2 components, this is what tells the area of the body to grow, and this is what keeps that in check and kind of pulls on the reins. With Bennett, with the genes that are in charge of his left leg growing, this little slowdown mechanism is kind of broken. It doesn't really work. So this one just keeps saying grow, 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 and this one isn't able to pull the reins back to slow it down. That's the simplest way of explaining it. What that also means, though, is that these genes, these growth genes, or these sort of broken growth genes, could be floating around in other areas of his body. And the most likely place to find them is in the kidneys and in the liver. So what that translates to is that he has an increased risk of developing cancer in those areas. Not in his leg, but in his liver and in his kidneys. So we have a screening protocol in place. Every 3 months he has an abdominal ultrasound done and he has blood work drawn to look for this protein marker in his blood, which would indicate the presence of tumors. I believe it's called AFI, but I can't exactly remember. It's API or AFI. I don't want to Google it. When I open the Google doors on any sort of medical issue, I tend to fall down the rabbit hole and then just scare myself completely. So I've learned to just let it go and not go down that road. So he's been doing these screening protocols for about a year now. I think our most recent one was his 4th one of that. And they've never called us. So there's never been an issue. But he went on Monday morning. He had an ultrasound done, followed by his blood work. When we finished up with the ultrasound, the technician told me the results will be available in about 2 days. Well, fast forward about 7 hours after we left their office, and the family doctor called. And she said to me, it was the receptionist, and she said to me, "We need to bring you in to review Bennett's ultrasound results. We need to get you in before we go on holidays." And of course, I don't know when their holidays start, but there was this sense of urgency. She didn't say it was urgent, but I got the sense that they needed us in sooner rather than later. And they scheduled the appointment for 2 days after they called. So I'm filming on Wednesday. They scheduled us for today. We tried to stay positive, but when they are screening specifically for cancer indicators, that's where the mind goes. And Barry and I were both trying to support each other and both trying to reassure each other that that wasn't what was on the table. But we both know that it very well is. That there is this increased risk, that this is what these diagnostics are looking for, and now we have a call from the doctor with zero context other than we need to review the ultrasound results with you. So basically, we've been sitting on pins and needles since Monday. We had our appointment this morning. It was scheduled for 11:45. We got in probably about 12:15. Waiting in that waiting room was terrifying, because as much as you want answers and as much as we just wanted to hear what had been detected, at the same time we were both terrified that our worlds were about to turn upside down and that our son was going to be in danger. We got in there, and it was the physician's assistant that we met with, and we've met with her a number of times for both the kids, and basically whenever we have routine medical things as well, that is who we typically meet with. And she starts going through it, and we're both just like literally on the edge of our seat. And I don't think she quite picked up on just how stressed we were, because of course she's seen the results and she knows what they're indicating. So she knows whether or not it's stressful or not. But for us, we were just hanging on every word she had to say. And ultimately she went through it and said, you know, his lymph nodes are fine, his liver is fine, his spleen is fine. His kidneys are larger than what they should be, or what the average is for a child his age. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, well, it could just be that they're growing fast as well. You have a tall son. Both of our kids are, Aspen's at the 99th percentile for height. Bennett's not too far off from that for boys of his age. So she said, there's really nothing to be concerned about, but we just wanted to let you know this. We're going to send this information to his doctors at Sick Kids so that they have the information as well. And then she went through the blood work and said that that protein marker was not detected. I think, and of course, a lot of it was just sort of like background noise at this point, but I think she said the sort of threshold is 8 units, 8 whatever the measurement is, and he was at like 1.2. So well, far below where it would be to indicate an issue. And Barry and I both started crying, just out of sheer relief. And I think we alarmed her a little bit because just the force of our reaction. And I just said to her, like, we've been waiting for 2 days and we haven't been able to breathe in those 2 days. So these tests are specifically to look for cancer. And when we got called in, that's what we thought it was going to be. She apologized profusely for, you know, the fear that we'd been through for the last 2 days, which I appreciated. And we weren't angry with her, and we weren't angry with the receptionist who had called to book the appointment. We were just like, this stress is really kind of avoidable if we're given more information when you call. And so what she did was she promised that in future, if ever any of his results need to be discussed, she would call us herself rather than going through the receptionist to book the appointment. And she promised that she would only call us if she could get us in either the same day or the next day, just to avoid all that period of wondering what if. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate that they are taking everything seriously and that they're sending this information down to his orthopedic and his genetic team at Sick Kids, because, you know, when we first noticed this issue, the family doctor didn't necessarily pick up on what the real issue was. And I've had people in the past say, like, how are you not angry at the doctor for that? Or, you know, just make a comment in general in that kind of vein. And I'm not necessarily angry about it because she's not a specialist. She is a generalist. She's a family doctor. I think she acted appropriately in referring us to the specialists. So I don't have room in my heart to harbor anger over it, because there's nothing productive to come of that, and I don't think she made a mistake. So that being said, when his initial results were sent to Sick Kids, they found the issue. So I'm glad that he has like 2 separate teams. Like, he's got a genetic team and an orthopedic team. So he's got those teams at Sick Kids to review this as well. So if there is anything alarming in their eyes in the fact that his kidneys are larger than what would be considered normal for his age, they will contact us and we will go through with whatever additional tests or screens are required for that. But I just wanted to share the update. I could have just done another community post, I realize that, but it's just easier to say it all in person. It's been a couple hours now since we came home, so I'm kind of processing and I'm feeling a lot better about it, but it's not a situation where we can like giggle and high five about it. Like I don't think either one of us really realized just how scared we were until we heard that we didn't have to be scared. And that's where you just let go of this breath that you didn't even know you were holding. And I felt that kind of fear before when I was pregnant with him and I had issues during the pregnancy. And just reliving that same kind of fear and that like almost painfully intense sense of relief, it's not anything that I wish on anybody. It's not. I mean, obviously the outcome could have been far worse, and that's not the issue I have. That's not. It's just, it's so hard to just live with that fear in your heart. And every time he has these scans, it raises its head. And now that we've had this call and lived through this experience, it's going to be that much more intense going forward. But I'm very, very grateful that we got good news out of it today. I have a bit of like a post-adrenaline headache, and Barry's upstairs napping right now. Like we're both just wiped out from this. But at any rate, I wanted to share that with you guys. Also, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, not only for myself, but on behalf of Barry as well, for all of your messages on my community tab post, for the DMs through Instagram, for the tweets that I've received, just all of this outpouring of concern and support and just love from you guys has meant the world to us. And we're so appreciative, and just, I don't have the words to convey just how much that means and how comforting it is to know just how many people care, not only about us, but about our little boy as well. And of course about Aspen as well. I mean, we didn't tell her any of this because until we know, there's no point putting fear in her heart. So she's none the wiser. Certainly Bennett has no clue what's going on, but just to know that you guys hold my family in your hearts, just sorry. It just means so much. They're my world. And I know that like this channel is mostly like, let's talk about eyeshadow, let's talk about lipstick, but I'm a real person with real fears, and you guys are real, and you recognize that, and you care, and I didn't expect to cry on camera. I didn't. It means so much. So thank you. And obviously if anything else, oh my gosh, if anything else crops up with him, I will share. I mean, those kids, they're everything to me. They're everything. And to see either one of them at any sort of risk of illness or harm or anything is just terrifying. It's heartbreaking. And we're going to keep going through this with Bennett. And that's okay. That's okay. It's just, it's really scary. It's really hard. I just can't imagine a world in which he has to go through cancer treatment. And I can't imagine a world without him. And I don't have to now, which is good. We got good results, so that's good. But my heart breaks for everybody. Everybody whose kids are sick and face these terrible diseases. The helplessness. I've only sort of glimpsed into that world, and I can't imagine what it's like to live in it.
So, sorry, this is a downer. I mean, it's an upper, but it's also a downer. It's just having to face that kind of reality is just scary. But I wanted to share the positive outcome. And again, I wanted to thank you guys because you make it that much easier for me. So thank you. You are all incredibly decent human beings. Bye for now.